everyone, I'm Liz Brunner and welcome back to the CNGtv studio. Did you know that by the year 2030, Gen Z will represent 20% of the workforce, and that's actually outnumbering millennials? I found that to be an interesting fact and something Dr. Cristina Banks from the University of California, Berkeley knows a lot about. So good to have you here and shed some light on this topic for us today.
Sure.
Let's first talk about wellness and the goals and the needs. How do you define a healthy workplace today?
Well, a healthy workplace is one that supports employee health, well-being, and their productivity.
And a lot more companies are trying to do that today.
Yes, they're trying to.
Trying to is the key word, right?
Right, and I think what's holding everything back is that companies are searching for the one answer. And so they're looking at, what is the thing I need to bring into the workplace that's going to turn this around?
And there's probably not one answer.
Oh, of course there isn't, because you can think about your own health and well-being and how many things affect your own, and so we need to look at it from a lot of different factors. And so we don't really know how all these factors fit together. And that's really the primary purpose of our interdisciplinary center at Berkeley, is to figure out what are all the different ways that we need to support people's health and well-being, and then how do we create that in organizations in ways that are cost-effective, that are easy to implement, and actually are things that employees want. A lot of times what is introduced are things that employees never ask for and doesn't make a difference.
Right, so, exactly. And let's talk too, I imagine that there's some cultural differences that can come into play too. How does that factor in?
So that's really a good question. So we know that people are different, right?
Yeah.
And we can divide them up by generation, by ethnicity, by gender. All of these things kind of factor into what people need. And I think what we need to get right to and figure out what will give us the best answer is what will create need satisfaction. So we have a way of analyzing what people really need at their basic level, and then what are the things in the workplace that need to be created, modified, and developed new in order to support need satisfaction.
Let's turn it now to the CRE professional and the psychological effects, because whether it's open space or closed offices, I would imagine all of that has an impact.
Absolutely. In fact, I have really been attracted to this area because CRE holds the key to much of what the experience is for employees.
How so?
Well, can you imagine going to a workplace where, first of all, there's no place to put away your belongings and lock them up for safety reasons.
And that's the case in a lot of spaces now.
Particularly when there's free addressing, and going to a workplace where it's just one frustration after another. It could be the technology doesn't work, or they have to work with people who are really noisy so they can't do their concentration. So CRE actually has a big impact on how people work and how they feel about the workplace. So in particular, we can look at this experience that people have and say, what is the kind of experience that they really need to have? And because of our studies, we have isolated 7 different needs that people have, and the qualities that we need to build into the workplace in order to support those needs.
Wow.
So it directly translates into what's the furniture, what's the workspace, how much natural light there can be, whether you bring in biophilia, which means plants and natural elements. We know a lot about these factors.
But we're just not kind of bringing them all together, right? We're not bringing them all together. I think everybody wants to flourish in their workplace, no matter what your generation may be. But how can we think about the next gens, the Gen Z people that are coming up, because they too have their own different needs compared to Gen X, Gen Y, baby boomers, everything else.
They are really interesting people.
How so from your perspective?
Well, we have done a number of studies with Gen Zs, and we'll be presenting on that here at the conference. But in conversations with them and in exercises that they go through where they actually design the office that would be most supportive of their needs, we find a number of things. One is they want both assigned space and unassigned space.
Okay.
Now, isn't that
Yeah.
interesting? Because they want a personalized space, but they also want to go to another place and work whenever they want to. And another thing I can mention is that as social beings, they're kind of shy when it comes to interpersonal interaction.
Well, it's because of all of this.
Yes.
Technology.
Exactly. And so, in fact, they were saying we need to have in a workplace a built-in event or a built-in space that will attract people
So that they will
my
actually
age.
meet.
Right, and that they
connect.
don't have to actually talk to somebody and say, hey, let's go there and
say.
talk. But if they go there, they can kind of be part of whatever that event is.
The activity, right?
And then
From
turn
there.
around and form the relationships. Isn't that interesting?
It's so different from our generation, I think. But
Right.
hey, I guess every generation has its thing, right? Dr. Cristina Banks, thanks so much for stopping by. A pleasure to speak with you, and good luck here at the summit. I hope
Thank
it's a
you
great
so
time
much.
for you. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time.